Hey everyone. If you've been following this channel, you know we've been tracking the United Arab Emirates for a while now. You know, the OPEC exit, the increasingly open praise of Israel from Emirati officials, the signals coming out of Abu Dhabi that this country has made a decision about which side of history it wants to be on. We've been talking about that, about how they're not quite in the same camp as even the other Gulf states that we think of as peaceful. Well, in the last 48 hours, a wave of headlines, well, 48 to 72 hours, the last few days, there's been a wave of headlines that a lot of people missed that confirm everything we've been saying and then some. So what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to pull up 5 articles and show you what we've been calling a pivot by the UAE is really a fact. It's really happening, and it's changing things. When you see it all laid out together, the picture of where the UAE is headed and what it means for the entire Middle East becomes very clear. So that's what this video is about. So let's pull up the first piece. Let's go ahead and make this bigger for you. Okay. So UAE Air Force attacks oil refinery on Iran's Lavan Island. The United Arab Emirates secretly launched airstrikes inside Iran, including an attack on an oil refinery on Iran's Lavan Island in the Persian Gulf. The strike caused a major fire and forced the refinery to suspend operations for several months. Okay, they used Western-made fighter jets, and they were retaliating for being attacked. The UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs declined to directly comment on the strikes, but referred to its previous statements, meaning their statements where they said that they retain the right to respond. Alongside military actions, pay attention to this, the UAE restricted Iranian financial activities in Dubai and introduced stricter visa rules for Iranian citizens. We talked about the remittances in an earlier video, that there are many Iranian citizens who live in the UAE who send money back home. It also supports the UN resolutions that would allow the use of force to reopen the strategically important Strait of Hormuz, meaning the UAE supported resolutions authorizing the use of force to open the Strait of Hormuz. Separately, Sudan accused Ethiopia and the UAE of aggression after an investigation into a downed drone. Okay, so what's happening here? So what's happening here? What are we seeing? So let that sink in. The United Arab Emirates is a country of roughly 10 million people, which until very recently was running a careful diplomatic balancing act between Iran and the West. Right? They were, of course, the most pro-Western of the Gulf states, but they also did have very friendly relations with Iran and a lot of financial dealings with them. We'll get to that in a bit. They secretly attacked Iran. This is a massive story. Look, the United States attacked Iran, right? Israel attacked Iran. We expected that. But the UAE has been hosting Iranian businessmen in Dubai for decades. A lot of the financial dealings, it's been the financial hub for Iran's economy. And the UAE just bombed Iran. And they didn't make a big press conference. They didn't announce it. We're finding out only about it after the fact. Their foreign ministry declined to comment, but pointed to past statements saying they have the right to defend themselves. Okay, this is not the language of a neutral country. This is the language of a country that made a decision. They're not going to talk about it in public, but they made a decision. Now we're gonna build story to story. So now let's take a look at those financial entanglements. So this is a piece from the Institute for National Security Studies at Tel Aviv University. It's one of the establishment think tanks in Israel. Dubai Junction, can the UAE disconnect from Iran? Over the years, Dubai has served as an important hub in the economic interface between Iran and the global economy, and at times as an indirect pipeline for easing the impact of international sanctions on Tehran. Understand? The UAE helped Iran evade sanctions. Now, why would they do that? That might sound strange to you. Wait, why is the UAE helping Iran evade sanctions? Whose side is the UAE on? Well, The UAE The UAE did this because it preserved their status as a major financial hub. If the Iranian money flows through them, then that means that they're still this, because if they would refuse, then that money would flow through someone else. So they want to retain their status as a major hub for the flow of money. But also, it's a way of kind of keeping the Iranians in check by having some leverage over them, having that so much of their money flows through them and is connected to people on their soil. This development was not a mere byproduct of globalization, but part of a financial economic structure based on the United Arab Emirates' role as an open regional trade and services center. There you go. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but so this point here, this connects directly to what we were just saying. For decades, Dubai was the loophole in Western sanctions. Okay, the Emirates served as the workaround. I know it sounds a little strange. Massive amounts of money, trade, and business flowed through Dubai on its way to Tehran. This was not a secret; everyone knew it. So Iranian businessmen had apartments in Dubai, for example. Iranian money circulated through United Arab Emirates banks. Dubai was in many ways Iran's economic lifeline to the outside world. So when I say that the UAE just bombed an Iranian oil refinery, I need you to understand the distance that the UAE has traveled. Again, this isn't the US or Israel bombing Iran, who have, Iran chants death to America and death to Israel. Like, we're talking about the UAE, who very, very involved financial connections there, business connections. Okay. So this is not a minor policy shift, is my point. This is a complete strategic reversal. And the question that the INSS in this paper is asking, can the UAE disconnect from Iran? I think the answer is now becoming abundantly clear. So let's now take a look at the third article I have for you here. The UAE coordinated attacks on Iran with Israel, according to reports. This is from today. Okay, the United Arab Emirates has attacked Iran more than once since the U.S.-Israeli campaign against Tehran began in February. Bloomberg reports the UAE carried out strikes before and after the April 8th ceasefire. Before and after the ceasefire, says the U.S. outlet, citing people familiar with the matter. One of the strikes, a response to the April 5th Iran attack on the Emirati Buruj petrochemical site. So the Iranians on April 5th, a couple days before the ceasefire, attacked a United Arab Emirates petrochemical site. And one of the strikes by the UAE on Iran that is now being revealed was coordinated with Israel, and it was an attack on an Iranian petrochemical site. According to one source, the two cooperated on Israel's attack on Iran's South Pars petrochemical complex the next day. Remember when Israel bombed the Pars petrochemical complex, and Trump sort of criticized them, sort of yes, sort of no. Well, it turns out that the UAE was involved in that. Throughout the war, cooperation between the two countries included the sharing of intelligence, detecting and interception of Iranian missiles and drones, and selecting Iranian targets, say the sources. And it says at the end that Israel sent an Iron Dome battery and soldiers to operate in the UAE. We'll get to that soon. That had not yet been confirmed. That had just been confirmed earlier in the day. We'll get to that in a moment. But let me just sum up what we see here. This is key. This is where it really gets interesting, because it's not just that the UAE struck Iran independently. It's that they were coordinating directly with Israel. The Israeli Air Force was flying missions inside Iran, specifically to protect the Gulf states from Iranian short-range missiles aimed at them. Think about that. Israeli jets flying to protect Arab Gulf states from Iranian attack. I've been saying for a long time that the old paradigm, the one where every Arab state opposes Israel and the dividing line in the Middle East is Arab versus Israel, the Arab-Israeli conflict, that paradigm is dead. What October 7th temporarily disrupted and what Iran's aggression has now accelerated is the realignment, is because the realization that the direction Iran wants to take things is untenable, and the realignment of the Middle East along completely different lines. The real dividing line now is not Arab versus Israel. It's It's who is Iran targeting, right? And the answer is everybody who wants peaceful and prosperous engagement with the West. And on the other side, you have everyone who wants to destroy it. And there I include, the Turks, the Qataris, who, Muslim Brotherhood aligned. I mean, and they're the ones trying to save the Iranian regime, right? So this UAE openness about their relationship with Israel and this military engagement together with them, it's unbelievable. Think of what this means historically. All right, let's go to the next piece. So the next piece here is, I just mentioned this before, in first official confirmation, U.S. envoys say Israel sent Iron Dome to UAE. Attending Israeli Independence Day event at the mission in New York, Ambassador to the UN Mike Waltz confirms air defense system was used to defend against Iranian missiles. That's what he said there. We saw the UAE make use of the Iron Dome provided to it by Israel, Waltz said. And then we have this quote from U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, quote, Israel just sent the UAE Iron Dome batteries and personnel to help them operate them. How come? Because there's an extraordinary relationship between the UAE and Israel based on the Abraham Accords, Huckabee said at an event in Tel Aviv, referring to the 2020 deal that saw Israel establish ties with the UAE. And so this has now been officially confirmed. Now think of what this means. Think of what this means now. Think of what this means. Here's Waltz saying that they were used to shoot them down, etc. And Huckabee saying that this is because of the Abraham Accords. I love this because look at what Huckabee just did. He didn't just confirm that the military transfer of the equipment of the Iron Dome happened, right? He explained that it's because of the Abraham Accords, that this is exactly what the Abraham Accords were always supposed to be, not just a piece of paper, not just a photo op on the White House lawn, but a real security and strategic partnership, the beginning of a new vision for the Middle East, a new vision for the Middle East that moves past all the stuff that holds the Middle East back, right? Iran hit the UAE with over 20, think about this. Iran hit the UAE with over 2,800 missiles and drones during this war. I believe it's double what they fired at Israel or more than they fired at anyone else. And who showed up to help them? Israel. The Israelis sent their own Iron Dome, one of the most prized defense systems in the world, and their own personnel to operate it to defend an Arab Gulf state. The fact that this at all seems normal to us is unbelievable. And here's the bottom line. The UAE's leaders can go home and say to their people, do you see what the Abraham Accords gets us? We got defended by Israel. That's a very powerful argument to advance the Abraham Accords worldview, which is really what we're fighting for here if there's going to be a path forward for the Middle East. This is massive. Okay, last segment, last story. The last headline here, this is really interesting. This is also from today. Saudi Arabia, UAE, launched direct strikes on Iran during conflict with Israel and the U.S. report. While Riyadh reportedly conducts secret tit-for-tat aerial raids, Abu Dhabi coordinated once with Israel to strike Iran's largest petrochemical plant at Asaluya. New reports are emerging indicating Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates both launched direct military strikes against Iran, signaling a historic shift in the Gulf defense strategies. According to reports from Reuters, Saudi Arabia conducted numerous unpublicized airstrikes on Iranian soil in late March. Saudi Arabia. Western and Iranian officials described these as tit-for-tat operations carried out by the Saudi Air Force in retaliation for attacks within the kingdom. These strikes represent the first time Saudi Arabia is known to have directly attacked Iran. The shift towards active combat is mirrored by the UAE, and then it brings up the Bloomberg report we mentioned before, and etc. That's it. Okay. So now let's talk about what we just saw here. What's in this article? There's two bombshells in this article. Two. The first is the Saudi story. Okay, Saudi Arabia, which has been playing its usual game of hedging, pivoting towards Qatar and Turkey one day and keeping their distance from Israel, and then on the next day they're moving back towards America. Look, Saudi Arabia quietly conducted airstrikes on Iran. This is the first time in history that Saudi Arabia directly attacked Iran. They're not announcing it, they're not taking credit, but they did it. Now, I've said many times on this channel that the Saudis are complicated, that they play both sides. But even the Saudis, when Iran starts raining missiles down on the Arabian Peninsula, they have their limits, and apparently they hit it. But the UAE story is even more specific. I want you to notice something. Iran struck the UAE's Buruj petrochemical plant, and the UAE responded by coordinating with Israel to strike Iran's Asaluya petrochemical facility, which is Iran's largest petrochemical plant. Target for target, facility for facility. In other words, the UAE is not in the scared America bail us out camp. That is, they were doing joint UAE-Israeli military strikes, and they're also allowing this information out. Say that out loud. A joint UAE, United Arab Emirates, Israel military strike. 5 years ago, the UAE and Israel didn't even have official relations yet. 4 years ago, they signed the Abraham Accords. Well, no, it's not 4 years ago. It's about 5 years ago. Right? What is it? 5 years ago, they signed the Abraham Accords. And then I'm sorry, I think I'm losing track of time. Either way, however many years ago it was, they signed the Abraham Accords. Now they're conducting joint military operations with Israel. Think about that. Think of what a change we're seeing. Executing a strategy together, Arab country and Israel. This is the trajectory I've been pointing out for a while when we talk about the UAE. And here's the thing about Iran's strategy. They thought that if they hit the Gulf states, meaning when Iran started firing at all the Gulf states right at the beginning of the war, what were they thinking? Why were they doing that? They thought that if they hit the Gulf states hard enough, they would drive a wedge between them and the Americans, and they would beg the Americans to back down to stop the war. Right? Show them the cost of aligning with the West, punish them. That's what Iran was trying to do, scare them into submission. But here's what actually happened. Iran fired 2,800 missiles and drones at the UAE, and the UAE responded by secretly joining the war, coordinating with Israel, accepting Israeli Iron Dome batteries, striking back target for target, and voting in the UN for resolutions authorizing force to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, Iran's strategy completely backfired. Instead of driving the Gulf states away from Israel and America, it pushed them closer, much closer. Okay, now let me zoom out. Well, let me pull this down now. Now I just want to talk to you. Let me, before I finish, please make sure you're subscribed to this channel, that you're subscribed to Israel 365 News channel, and go into the link of this video, the link in the description of this video, where there is a link to sign up for our newsletter so you don't miss anything. You won't miss any videos. You won't miss any on the Israel 365 News channel. You won't miss all the activity that we're doing at Israel 365 Action, and sign up for the Israel 365 News daily newsletters. You'll just get headlines from Israel that mainstream media is not showing you. All right. So let me zoom out and tell you what I think all of this means. Here's the big picture. For decades, the story of the Middle East was that we had a lot of these jihadists, these radicals. Iran, the Muslim Brotherhood, and all of its various offspring, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, whatever, all of them. Hamas and Hezbollah, right? This is who was dictating the pace of the action, as it were. And the moderate Arab states, the ones that just wanted to develop their economies and build a future, a prosperous future for themselves, they were constantly on the defensive. They were always afraid of being labeled as traitors to the Arab or Islamic cause if they sided too much with the West, but they just wanted peaceful economic engagement with the West. They were afraid of Iran. They were afraid of internal extremists. So they were constantly hedging all these relationships, like that Emirati-Iranian financial relationship I was describing before, always keeping their heads down, paying lip service to the Palestinian cause, and doing enough cooperation with Iran to keep them in check. And they avoided making any real moves. And then October 7th shook everything up. But the Iran war has shattered it, because here's what the UAE now Here's what the UAE has now demonstrated to the Arab world. You can coordinate with Israel. You can fight back against another Muslim state. You can use Israeli technology to protect yourself. You can secretly join a military campaign against Iran. And you can come out on the other side having protected your people and your economy. Like, the old taboos are gone. And I'll tell you something else. Iran issued a warning to the UAE just a couple days ago. A member of the Iranian parliament's National Security Committee said, and I'm quoting here, "Iran still has unfinished business with the UAE." He accused the UAE of coordinating with Israel to drag Trump back into the war. Now, Iran issuing threats like this, does that strengthen the case for the UAE backing down? Or does it strengthen the case for the UAE deepening its security relationship with Israel and America? I mean, the answer's pretty clear. Look, the Abraham Accords were always meant to be about more than trade. Now, I was cynical about them because other peace agreements that Israel's made, Egypt, Jordan, there's all these lofty, idealistic aspirations built into them that never materialize, and always just becomes, just kind of some security cooperation, some trade, but not really even at the business-to-business level. But the Abraham Accords are turning out to be something different. There's more to them than trade. They were about building a security architecture for a new Middle East, one where the moderate pro-Western states have each other's backs. And what we're witnessing right now in real time is that architecture is being stress tested, and it's holding. This UAE-Israel relationship is a huge, huge story. One final thought. Iran targeted the UAE more than any other country in this war, more than Israel, more than the United States. I mentioned that before. Iran poured more firepower into trying to destroy Dubai's economy, its airports, its property market, its sense of security, than into anything else, including attacking Israel, the little Satan. They thought, hit them in the pocketbook and they'll fold. That's what they thought of the Emiratis. And the Emirates did not fold. They fought back. And that's the story of the Middle East right now. So that's what I wanted to share with you in this video. I hope you found it interesting. Please, please share this video. Tell people what we're doing on this channel. And I want to thank all of you for helping grow the channel so quickly. It's been really something, and it really gives me a lot of encouragement. So God bless. Please drop a comment. Love to hear what you have to say. I read a lot of the comments. I read as many as I can. So thank you all for all the commenters. Thank you very much. God bless.